Are you tired of scraping together dozens of small editing jobs just to pay the bills? Last year, I edited a single commercial campaign that paid $40,000 for 4 minutes of content. But getting there was way harder than it needed to be, and I wish I'd known how to do it smarter from the start. So here are 12 lessons that will help you land your first 5-figure editing job, just like my student Guzman did after going through my program. Lesson 1. Early on, I thought editing was all about software, clean cuts, and accurate exports. And that's what I was getting paid for, technical execution for around $30 an hour. And I was stuck there until I met a mentor that taught me editing isn't software, it's emotional storytelling. Nobody hires you for a $40,000 editing project because of technical expertise. They pay you because you can make an audience feel something. So lesson 1 is high-end editors get paid for emotional storytelling. And that's why the first thing I teach in my editing program is how to edit for emotional impact. Click the link in the description to learn more. And if getting paid for evoking emotion sounds intense, wait until you have to deliver it in 30 seconds. Lesson 2. In commercial editing, there's something called a cut down. You take a 60-second spot and turn it into a 30, for instance. The first time I was assigned one, I remember thinking, oh, it's shorter, this will be so easy. But it was the hardest part of the whole campaign. So when you hear $40,000 for 4 minutes, you might think, oh wow, that sounds super easy because it's so short. But it's a bit deceiving because shorter pieces can often be more challenging than longer content. You have a very limited amount of time to tell the story, set up the characters, and evoke that emotion. So lesson 2 is shorter content does not equal easier content. So when you're working on a short video piece, don't shortchange it. Always ask yourself, how can I stay true to the heart of the story and make an emotional impact even at this length? And once you learn how to do that, you'll see there's another level of editing most people never even notice. Lesson 3. I wish I could say that editing was my first job, but at 16, I actually worked at a candy shop in a theme park. True story. So let's say to close the shop, I had to sell $2,000 worth of candy. Now, I could sell $1 worth of candy to 2,000 people, or what if I could sell $2,000 worth of candy to one person? The same amount of money spent, but for me, a completely different experience. 2,000 tiny transactions is chaos. Ringing people up, cleaning the store, counting $1 bills. By the end of the day, I'd be an absolute wreck. Editing can be very similar. Let's say you want to hit $120,000 a year. Well, you can get there by doing 3 $40,000 projects or 240 $500 projects. One lets you go deep with a few great customers and deliver excellence. The other can destroy your mental bandwidth and sap all your energy. Lesson 3 is fewer high-paying projects can lead to a better quality of life. But even when you land a big project, there's a trap that catches a lot of editors off guard. Lesson 4. If you played a sport when you were younger, like American football, you probably remember trying a lot of different positions. Maybe you tried quarterback, wide receiver, or even kicker. But as you move up, high school, college, and especially in the NFL, players start to specialize. You're paid to be great at one thing. NFL quarterbacks don't ask to kick field goals to make extra money. That would be insane. High-end editing works the same way. The bigger the budget, the more you're expected to be a specialist. You don't need to be the editor and the colorist and the sound mixer and the VFX artist, but you do need to be the quarterback, the one who guides the team to the end zone. Lesson 4 is big clients pay specialists to lead a team. And once you're expected to lead, you learn the real reason someone would trust you with a $40,000 project. Lesson 5. You can probably get a $500 job on a site like Upwork without talking to anyone, but nobody hands you $40,000 without knowing you. It's all about trust. And on a big job, clients are trusting you to be a part of a project that might have millions of dollars behind it. That doesn't happen just because you're talented. It happens because people know you're reliable, calm under pressure, and you deliver. So this $40,000 project I got didn't come from a cold email. It came came from a relationship I built for more than a decade. And my first job with this client was small, but I showed up, I kept delivering, and I kept showing up, and the trust compounded over time. Lesson 5, big jobs come from long-term relationships. But even with trust, there's a ceiling most editors hit without even knowing it's there. Lesson 6, imagine a car salesman at a Honda dealership. He's hitting his quota, but he's unhappy with his pay. So he decides to ask his boss, hey, I had this great idea. Can I just sell these cars for double what I'm asking now? Of course, that would be crazy. If he wants to make more money, he has to sell higher-end cars that give you a bigger commission. So he should go get a job at a Ferrari dealership so he can double or triple his pay and commission by selling the same amount of cars. Your editing niche works in the same way. You might be hitting a hard ceiling doing short form YouTube edits or even corporate. And if you want those 5-figure jobs, you need to move to niches where those bigger budgets are normal, like commercial campaigns or TV shows. Lesson 6 is if you're hitting an income ceiling, you might need to change your niche. But entering a high-paying niche is a big challenge. You still need a way in. Lesson 7. Years ago, I remember remodeling a bathroom in my house and I wanted a pretty intricate tile design. So I got some bids and almost all of them came back saying, we do everything, floors, backsplashes, showers, whatever you need. But one company said, we only do mosaic tile installs like this, and he showed me photos that happened to be exactly what I wanted. The only issue was that bid was 3 times higher than the others. But guess what? I hired him anyway. That was the right choice. Producers and agencies think the same way. If they're hiring for a very specific style, let's say a comedy commercial, a sports montage, a high-end beauty commercial, and your show reel is full of travel edits or weddings, you're not going to get a second look. Lesson 7 is clients hire editors who have already solved their exact problem. So if you want to get hired for high-end projects, make sure your reel shows you've already delivered successful projects in the exact style that customer needs. And if you want my 4-step system for creating a high-converting editing show reel, download my free editing show reel mastery guide at the link in the description. And even when you finally get hired, everything changes the moment you sit in the editing chair. Lesson 8. Shooting 3-pointers alone in a quiet gym is easy. Shooting them in an NBA playoff game in a loud arena with defenders in your face is something entirely different. Same physical action, but a different world. Supervised edits feel like that. Editing alone at home is like practicing those 3-pointers by yourself. Editing with 4 agency creatives and a director sitting behind you watching every keystroke is another. Lesson 8 is supervised editing separates high-end professionals from everyone else. If you want to break into high-end projects, I recommend practicing taking real-time feedback and managing a room, even if it's just with friends or colleagues, or maybe a director you've worked with for a long time. This will help prepare you for when those big lights come on and you're on the spot. And once you can perform in the room, you learn something brutal about expectations. Lesson 9. When I started editing, I charged an hourly rate. Now, there's a big benefit of hourly, and that is I would always be paid for all of my time. But as I continued to improve my speed and efficiency and creativity as an editor, I realized something. That client who was paying me for 4 hours to edit a video was now only paying me for 2 hours to edit the same video because I had gotten twice as fast. I realized that I was actually being punished for my efficiency. Then I started charging project rates. Let's say I bid $5,000 for a commercial. Sure, it might take me a week, but what if I nail the first few cuts and the client is ecstatic in just 2 days? Well, that's a huge win. But the client wins too. They love the spot and they got it sooner than they expected. Lesson 9 is charging hourly might be limiting your potential. But even with great pricing, you still have to be able to survive the kinds of deadlines that can destroy a lot of editors. Lesson 10. Think of a broadcast deadline like a roller coaster launch. Once the harness locks in and the button is pressed, you're going whether you're ready or not. A media buy is the same. If the commercial airs on Tuesday at 6:17 p.m., it airs on Tuesday at 6:17 p.m. There's no, hey, can we move this back a week? My schedule is a little crazy. A lot of times, everyone is tense because there's zero room for failure. You're not just being paid for your creativity, you're being paid to deliver when there are those immovable deadlines. Lesson 10 is higher budgets often come with higher anxiety. But if you're up for it and you want to work in broadcast, start practicing hitting deadlines as if they're immovable. That way you have some practice and you know how it feels when you're really in that situation. But the stress can become unbearable if you don't protect yourself. Lesson 11. Early in my career, when I booked my first 4-figure editing job for $1,000, I was thrilled. But by the end of the project, I was utterly devastated and worn out. So I delivered that first cut and I got notes. Then I delivered another cut and I got notes. Then another and another and another. And it went on for 4 weeks. By the end, I was making less than minimum wage. And it wasn't really because the client was bad. It's because I never set boundaries from the beginning. So lesson 11 is clearly define the scope of work for every project. But even when you define the scope of work, there's something you might still be missing. Lesson 12. You know that restaurant that always surprises you with a free dessert on your birthday? You remember them and you come back. Why? Well, because they exceeded your expectations. Not only was the food great and the service great, which is what you paid for, but they gave you a little something extra, and that just built that relationship. Everything really changed in my career when I started over-delivering, like fixing problems before anyone noticed or sending out an extra version just in case. That's how you get invited back, especially when it comes to high-end clients. So lesson 12 is over-deliver, and your best clients will return again and again. And if you want me to personally help you create emotionally impactful edits that land you high-end jobs, click the link in the description to learn more about my program. Now you know 12 lessons that will help you book your first 5-figure editing job faster than I did. But none of them will help you if you don't understand where you're stuck. So watch this video next to learn my 5-step system to discover exactly where your editing income is broken. Happy editing.